Hi, I'm Blythe Stevens of A Blythe Coach, Dance Education and Coaching to move through life with balance, grace, and power. I've noticed in my work as a dancer and also as a yoga practitioner, the similarity in the way that we use the supportive musculature in the body to perform the movements that we are trying to accomplish. So both with dance and with yoga, there are certain universal anatomical and kinesiological principles that help us to perform successfully. One of these is breath and core support. So in dancing, we might say things like lift the belly button up, use your core, draw the belly button in towards the spine, close the rib cage, engage through the center. Feel length or elongate your posture through the spine from the support, which is your feet, or also from the pelvis through the crown of the head. And there are specific shapes that we're trying to make, but also dynamic actions that are supporting those shapes. In yoga, we do use pranayama or breath techniques as well as postures to develop also stability and ease. And Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras even speaks of this balance or the necessity for having both steadiness and ease. Vaganova, in her manual on classical ballet technique, calls it stability and aplomb. So please begin by finding a comfortable seat, either directly on the floor. It might be more comfortable with a carpet or a cushion, or even a yoga block like I have with me today, a meditation cushion, a regular pillow, a folded towel or blanket, whatever is required to find a position that's comfortable to be seated in for a while, where you feel well supported and also relaxed. This means that we're also finding a broad base of support. If we're sitting in a chair, that might be right onto both sit bones as well as the back of the thighs. Or if we're sitting in a cross-legged position on the ground, then the weight is distributed across both sit bones as well as the knees, lower legs, and thighs in a triangular position. And this triangular position is a very wonderfully stable position for sitting. And of course, we can take on more advanced techniques, such as half or full lotus, if that's within our practice, but a simple seat is also great. As we're settling into this position, we may wish to take some gentle movements to release any excess tension that we might currently be holding. For me, that usually involves a couple circles of the shoulders, relaxing the neck and upper back and shoulder area. You can take more of a freestyle flow, loosen it out. We could also take some gentle side stretches to work on the shoulder, side, body. And it also can take the form of some lower arm relaxation. Maybe we're holding tension in the hands or wrists, and some circles or some gentle massage might help us to release that, as well as some gentle circles of the head. Once you're done stretching out the arms and lower arm and hand area, we can decide whether to rest the hands directly palm down onto the thighs, which is a very grounding shape, or to rest them palms up on the back of the hand, which is a more open and receptive shape. These hand positions also form the basis of some of our yoga poses and concepts. All of these bandhas fall under the general umbrella of mudras, which can be thought of as positions of the hands, but it's specific positions of any body part, the hands, the feet, the specific muscular contractions that we're engaging. So in this way, anywhere we're supporting the body, whether it's on our seat or when we come to all fours, it could be the hands and the knees and the feet, or standing, of course, it's the bottoms of the feet, then that too is a mudra or a bandha. So we do have the hasta bandha, which is our hand engagement when we're supporting ourselves with our hands, the pada bandha when we're supporting ourselves on the feet, and here we come with the mula bandha. So bandhas are muscular locks or engagement in specific muscle groups of the body that work together to support our movement. So there are three major bandhas that are most often spoken of in yoga, and the three together all form a fourth. So I wanted to show a couple of pictures from this beautifully illustrated book, Yoga Anatomy 3D, or 3D. It's in German, but I think it's available in English as well, because it shows such detail and richness in the illustration of how the bandhas work. So the first bandha that we speak of is the mula bandha, and this takes place in the very bottom of the pelvis, so the floor of the pelvis, so to speak. And it's an engagement of the perineum and all the connecting musculature at the very lowest part of our support when we're seated, and that also aligns with the first chakra. Here, and you can see the bowl of the pelvis and the sort of top rim of the pelvis, to which we can palpate with our fingers. And then at the very bottom, of course, we have the openings for the pelvic sphincters. And these are related to the muscles we use to control urination and that sort of thing. But it's a light, with the bandhas, it's a light squeezing or control. So it's not meant to impede our movement, instead to support the movement. So we're not clenching so tightly that we cannot move. Instead, we are engaging so we can better move. So that is the mula bandha here at the first chakra level. So sitting here comfortably, after we've settled in, chosen our hand position, release that excess tension. We will just take a couple gentle inhales. And as we exhale, we'll lightly contract the lower muscles of the pelvis, so that which we're sitting directly onto. If it helps to imagine the cessation of urination, this can be a good idea or image to employ, but it's really a little bit more general than that, supporting the bowl of the pelvis with that lower musculature. And then we'll release as we inhale. Again, as we exhale, engaging the mula bandha, firming in the lower pelvis, feeling that tone, and inhale to release. And exhale, lightly contracting the lower muscles of the pelvis, feeling that connection also to the surface below us, and release. Then the next one is the Urianabanda, very often talked about, and that is right here in the core of the torso. So you can see the transverse abdominis here that goes side to side along the bottom of the rib cage all the way down the trunk, and then also the rectus abdominis that runs up and down. All of that is engaged in the Urianabanda. We might cue this saying, suck the belly up, or lift the belly button, or engage the muscles of the core. Very important, both to dance and to yoga. Okay, now a really useful way to practice engaging the Urianabanda through our belly is actually by practicing Kapalabhati breathing. This is known as the skull shining breath, or also the breath of fire. Here's a little bit more on Kapalabhati from Anatomy of Hatha Yoga by David Coulter. Kapalabhati is one of the 6 classic cleansing exercises in Hatha Yoga, and is especially effective in lowering alveolar carbon dioxide in the lower segments of the lungs. Like the bellows, Kapalabhati is not only energizing, it develops strength and stamina, and it teaches you to coordinate the abdominal muscles for skillful use in other exercises such as Agni, Urianabanda, and Nali. So I think Kapalabhati is also a really nice pranayama technique to practice in the fall, because in some parts of the world it is getting cooler, so we might be looking to generate a bit more heat and internal engagement and integration that way. And also because fall is a time that invites us to let go of wastes, things which are unnecessary, things which are not supporting us anymore. And so this sort of cleansing of the stale carbon dioxide that normally remains in the lungs is a nice way to symbolically release things that we don't need and that don't serve us. If done properly, this can be both energizing and relaxing. The emphasis is on the exhale. So it's going to sound like a sniffing sound as I practice this. I'm breathing through the nose, but I am allowing the inhale to take place passively because of the vacuum I've created in the lungs and in the torso from the forceful exhale. The inhale happens automatically. Fresh oxygen will flow back into the body without me having to will it so. So we'll start out slowly and then find our own rhythm for Kapalabhati. So quick is great, but it does not have to be super fast. The emphasis is simply on forcibly exhaling while we draw, of course, the belly and the Urianabanda in, and then allow it to refill with oxygen quickly as well. So it looks and sounds a little bit like this. And about that much, 5 or 10 seconds is fine to start. Then we'll take a break, breathe normally, and we can resume the practice or perhaps take a break and resume at a later time. So let's draw in a nice relaxed inhale and exhale cycle and then start our Kapalabhati breathing. Of course, we can have a soft focus of the eyes down in front of us, even close the eyes. There's limited movement, or we're trying for a stable posture in the shoulders and chest, so it's not so much happening from the upper body, but really from the lower core, all the muscles which are supporting, connecting the rib cage and the pelvis and supporting our breathing. So here's that long last breath cycle. And then we'll start our breath of fire. And then return to breathing naturally. I do feel a little bit of a shine or a tingle in the crown of the head, the skull shining out. Then the third major bandha that we're practicing today is Chandalahara bandha, and that uses the muscles right here in the neck and throat. And we engage this bandha by tucking the chin in towards the chest. If we're just practicing that action of the bandha, we might tuck the chin into the chest and even lift the breastbone to connect it and really feel the full engagement of the throat. In our dynamic yoga practice, we wouldn't exaggerate quite to that extent, but instead sense the length in the back of the spine through the chin tucking and these muscles engaging. So Chandalahara bandha is here, Uddiyana is in the core, and then the Mula Bandha at the very base of the bowl of the pelvis. Okay, next, while we're seated, we'll try out the Jandalohara Bandha. Gently tucking the chin into the chest with the exhale. And we can lift the chest to meet it if that feels good for us in our practice. And then inhale to release. Exhale to contract. Inhale to release. Perhaps we feel this in the back of the neck, wherever you feel it is fine. For me, this drawing in of the chin and elongating in the back of the neck creates a little bit of a stretch for me. I think this one is really wonderful for those of us dancers, and it seems in ballet in particular, who might have a tendency to lift the chin when we're trying to create a sense of elongation in the spine or expansiveness in our shape. We might lift our chin, which may feel like it's having that effect, but actually it is taking our alignment out of place. And we can replace that sense of length with drawing the chin in and feeling length truly through the crown of the head and through the whole spine. A really great exercise for ballet dancers. So we've practiced the Mula, Uddiyana, and Jandalohara bandhas. By simultaneously contracting all of these, we end up with the master bandha, the Mahabandha. Mahabandha is translated as the great bandha. It's one of the internal locks that is described and employed in yoga, and it is the name for the action of employing, integrating, and connecting all three bandhas in holistic action. And that's really the concept or the word that I want to focus on most today is integration. We're using these muscular locks or engagement to integrate all the pieces of the body. So we have the head as well as the torso, rib cage, the pelvis, the legs, the arms, and we're trying to unite all of those in integrated action. They are not designed to inhibit movement, rather to aid it. If it makes you more stiff and less able to move, then there's something in our understanding or approach that needs a bit of tweaking in order for it to be resonant with what our needs are today. These muscular locks or bandhas can be applied at all times. Forward bends, back bends, cat-cow, side bends. And they take different forms supporting us in different ways depending on the movement that we are engaged with. The actions are always the same, but the precise shape or sensation or feeling is going to differ because it's accomplishing different things depending on what our needs are and what we are trying to accomplish. Now let's try these three bandhas or this great bandha, the Mahabandha, in a couple of exercises. So from our comfortable seat, we'll come to a reclining shape on our mat or on the floor. Gently laying or rolling down to a flat back. Find both hip bones onto the floor, the spine long and relaxed, both shoulders on the floor, and the feet coming out from under the hip joints evenly. So I have a little bit of space between my thigh, and I might actually even take my block, if I've got one, or a book, and place that between the knees or thighs, helping engage the inner thighs, and also keeping me connected to my roots. So the roots in the pelvis, that bowl of the pelvis, we've got the Mula Bandha activated there, and then a bit of engagement through the inner thighs as well. Then we'll engage the center, our Urianabanda, lifting up in the belly, and then also tucking the chin slightly for our Jandalohara Bandha. And then I'll just gently reach my arms forward and slowly roll up. Beautiful yoga crunches. Not really a crunch at all, more of a peel and a roll. Really mindful of my breath and that which is connected to the floor, rolling vertebra for vertebra, feeling the connection of the chin towards the chest, of the belly button towards the spine, and of the lower muscles of the pelvis lifting up, sensing the integration through my whole body and core. Then we can unfold one leg or both and practice the exercise with extended legs. To make this a little bit easier, we'll use gravity, so bring the legs straight up into the air. For more challenge, we can widen the angle, assuming or making sure, assuring that the lower back is in contact with the floor throughout. So connecting through the Mula, Uddiyana, and Jandalahara Bandhas with pointed or flexed feet. We could play with that. We'll slowly roll and return. Slowly roll up with an exhale ideally and return with the inhale. And exhale. And inhale. Exhale up. Inhale down. Now flexing the feet, if we want one more variation on this, we'll add a little bit of cross-body movement, integrating the obliques with the rectus abdominis and also the transverse abdominis. So here we can reach a little bit to the outside. So right hand to left heel and through the center, and left hand to right heel through the center. Keeping aware of our bandha action, integrating our movements through the body. Last one. And release. Now we'll gently make our way up to standing. One way to do this is to roll onto the side and then reach our leg out and then come up to standing. I'll meet you there. Another great pose for practicing the integration of our three major bandhas is in chair pose. And this is another pose where you may wish to use a block or something between the knees or thighs to help support that action, although you don't have to. So the basic version, we would find the feet either hip width apart or closer together, big toe joints together, heels slightly apart. And then we'll sit back, squeezing the thighs of the knees together, sitting our sit bones back. So the tail is reaching sort of out and up. The sit bones are sending out wide to the back. Even behind my heels, I'm shifting my weight towards the heel of the foot. Although the whole bottom surface of the foot remains on the floor, maybe the toes lift up. And then I can reach the arms either parallel to the floor in front of me or on a long diagonal, completing the line of the spine. So that's how it looks like from the front. From the side, I'll take that same shape, feet completely together or a little bit apart, a block between the thighs or the knees if I so desire, and then I'll sit the pelvis back behind the feet and reach the arms out in front of me. Special attention to the lower back here being really long. So I'm not creating a big arching cat-cow shape here, although those would be a nice warm up before this pose. Instead, I'm focusing on integrating the use of my lower pelvis muscles, my abdominal muscles, and also keeping the chin slightly tucked to create a long neck and sitting back. I can create one more bandha here by pressing the palms together. Now I feel that integrated effort throughout the entire body. I am breathing here in this chair pose. I am sitting back as if I'm going to sit myself into a chair. I really feel awake and alive through all the muscles of the body, but trying not to clench or tense, and then release. It's a really nice part of our sun salutation and warm-up practice to get those bandhas in dynamic relationship and help support a really healthy alignment in our practice. So let's try one more chair pose, just like that. Squeezing the knees completely together or with a prop, reaching the arms how we like, sitting back, and then focusing on all of that good bandha action. And release. I hope you've enjoyed this pranayama practice today and learning a bit more about the bandhas, the mudras, and pranayama. Let me know in the comments below what you thought, how this went for you in practice. Of course, if you have any particular physical concerns, this would be important to take up with your medical professional. And if you did enjoy this practice, you want to learn more about yoga, dance, and all of the techniques that I practice, please do like my channel, subscribe, click that little notification bell to make sure you get notifications of future videos, and check out my website at ablythecoach.com. That's ABLYTHECOACH.com.